All right, it's Human Condition. We're live with Jude Angelini. I don't know who got his book yet. I haven't checked the comments, but I know some people expressed wanting to get it, and I want to say for this one, it's a nice. You said there's going to be a final in the series, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fan.
So I know I like that. Why lowercase?
That was just design aesthetic. I didn't even plan that shit.
No?
I had actually all uppercase, but my homie that drew all the pictures, he also did the cover, and it was lowercase.
That's real clean. You know what I mean? It says something, and you don't know what. You know what I mean? You got shark on the fight, and you're like thin and thin, so you're going French with it. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought.
It's both.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It tells the story right there. You don't know what the fuck you're about to get into, but it's interesting. So you're like, all right. But yeah, no, I like that. And I thought there was some significance in the fin, but design aesthetic makes sense.
That's, I guess, it's whatever you want it to be. Well, that's art.
Yeah.
You put it out and then
you let it go.
Yeah.
You let it go.
I like the lowercase because it seems like it's in the middle of a word, unfinished.
Oh yeah, that's
some Paul Thomas Anderson shit. That's some shit he do, where he ends on the second act. What was it? Yeah, we're live right now. Did we not go live?
It is live.
All right. So yeah. Anyway, I dug the fuck out of the book. I relate to a lot of the stories. I grew up. Grew up on the east side of Detroit.
Right.
Third grade, I think it was when we got out into the burbs. Yeah. Hazel Park ain't really the burbs; it's on the cut. So we were just poor white people.
Hazel Tucky for y'all that don't know.
Hazel Tucky. So so a lot of the shit you went through, we went through. You were in Rochester, but you went to Pontiac, right?
Yeah. Totally. And that was a lot of those stories are in Pontiac, and like, I'm not that specific about it. Like, it just happened.
Or when you said Rochester, I didn't know at first because you're like, I never heard no shit like that where I'm from. But it's true that when you come from, so when you're a white person and you grow up poor and you're surrounded by predominantly black people, when you cross over into the burbs, it's like another country. Like it was culture shock for me when I moved into the burbs. I was fighting all the time because that was the one thing my dad gave me. He taught me how to scrap. So they would make fun of me and I'd fuck them up. You know what I mean? And it's just that's what life was. But it was a whole different world. That was the first time I really saw racism, like hatred behind. We used to drop the N-bomb and honky on each other when we were going to throw down in the hood. But over when I crossed 8 Mile, there was some hate that was behind these words. That was so I got to see how protective people get when they're poor. You know what I mean? That's really what it boiled down to is. When you're poor and white, you feel disadvantaged because you sold this American dream and you feel like somehow you're supposed to have more, but you ain't supposed to have shit, really, And I get a lot of the people, this is the predominant population in America, the people that live on the cusp of poverty, and they don't get talked about a lot. It's either you're this or that, or stereotypes, and you kind of break down stereotypes here, and you're a little bit of everything like most humans are.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, most of the racism I saw was black on white racism. It wasn't white on black racism.
Yeah,
because they were the majority.
Right, I got paid. I was a white boy,
and so it was. I remember, I remember being in Rochester and the first time I heard the hard R shit, and I'm just like, I was like, what?
What just happened?
Yeah, I was like, what part of the game is this? I wasn't ready for it. But I'm more forgiving of that shit than you are. Like, people are tribal.
Yeah,
people are tribal, territorial. Like, I was just so used to it from. Like my friends, I was like their only white friend. You know what I mean? So
that's how I was. But I crossed over, and my mom did her best to get us into the burbs. So it was all white people who were poor.
Right.
And there wasn't a ton of racism, but there was people that just hated black people because they were going to take what they had. Like, that's the idea.
Really? That was what they said.
Well, that's how they acted. No, that's how they acted.
No shit.
Yeah. I mean, it came down from the mothers and fathers and. Don't let them move into the neighborhood, shit like that. There's this perception, property value drops. They really believe that shit. The mom clutching the purse and shit. And they're not doing that intentionally. They're doing it because there's trauma. Like there's years and years of trauma that's been built up in all of us around the races. We've been
every time I come in here, you talk race with me.
Well, we got on that story.
One fucking story, dog. Like,
I ain't even talking.
Last time we did 40 minutes of that shit.
Did we?
Yes.
Well, we ain't even talking about racism. We're just talking about the environment we grew up in.
Straight up.
Oh shit! Go edit that out.
I told you the sleeping pill.
Are you taking it out?
No. What's that? No, I'm just playing.
No.
Like maybe.
I could have predicted that if I was thinking.
Is it a bad chair?
I just remembered last time I sat in the little one. I never saw anyone fall out of it.
That'll get good. Change.
No, it's good.
That shit's fucked up.
There you go.
Thank you. Like I didn't write that shit just to I didn't write that story to be like, oh, look at how white people act. I mean, because to be quite frank, like I was around those motherfuckers a long time, and that was the first time like I seen something so fucking crazy and blaring.
And that's all I'm talking about is that like I didn't know, I never experienced it until I did, and then it was jarring.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I didn't know what that was at the time, but it really, this is really about race relations. You know, this is about growing up immersed in a different environment as a white person in America, and you don't hear this much.
And I don't want that to be like, I don't want the exception to be the rule either. Because we went to that restaurant a fucking 100 times before that fucking thing.
That thing happened, yeah.
And it was for y'all that it felt like I was in Mississippi burning. I say
that's what the chapter was. I was perfect. It was perfect. I was like, that's why I didn't know where the fuck we were. I was like, is this Jude traveling right now, or is he a kid? And then I went into that. I was like, oh shit.
And I was like, just fresh out of jail, just on bond, and these dudes are trying to pick a fight, and my buddy just fucking mopped him.
Yeah,
mopped him.
What fucking? Did he get the eyeball out?
No, but it was I couldn't tell if it was dangling or what, because it was just blood, like just bloody.
Mine was, I had that one time that this big burly motherfucker, I let him up, and my friend was telling me he couldn't hit me. I was holding his arm, so he couldn't hit me, but he was a wrestler. And when he got me down on the ground and he started scrambling up and got me in guard, I was like, fuck. So he started gouging my eyeballs out. That's all he could do. And luckily my friends pulled his ass off me, but that's part of my eye was blood. It was all blood.
Yeah.
But that's a gnarly. When I'm reading that, man, because I feel it. Right. You know what I mean? That's a hard way to lose a fight.
I know, it was disgusting to watch too for a bystander, because it was finger fucking his eye. I'm like,
that shit's gruesome, ain't it?
I know.
That's some shit you don't want. That'll traumatize a motherfucker.
And I kind of like I wrote about my great grandfather, and I just kind of wanted to show how like savage we are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like cats become less and less savage as they get further and further away from like the motherland roots.
Yeah,
the old country, that shit. Like,
you think they get less and less savage?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. These cats are soft now, dog. Like, I mean, softer. They're more likely to shoot you than gouge your eyeball out.
For sure. Sense? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's quick. Yeah, they're more scared now than they ever been.
But think about that dude gouging, like that's intimate. He is next, like he's right on you, like y'all are hugging each other, and he's going inside of you.
And he's not stopping.
Yeah, he's entering.
Yeah,
like that's pretty fucking intimate, dog. Like,
I don't fuck, man. That's how we were as kids. Like I would fantasize about. I didn't want to fight anybody, but I knew I had to. So I would fantasize about fucking people up bad, really wanted to hurt them.
Yeah. And
I didn't know how fucked up that was. That thinking, it was all fear based, right? Like I'm gonna get you before you get me.
Totally.
So I would think I would do some shit like that, and then I would laugh about it. You know, break a bottle over someone's head. I would laugh about it. When I went to juvie, I learned what compassion was, and I learned I didn't have any. And I learned I might be a sociopath. So I was like, what the fuck? So I was taught all these terms, and then I started that saved my life, because then I started thinking, well, that don't feel right. You know what I mean? But I didn't know. I was just immersed in whatever the fuck we were doing, and we were intimate with each other. If you call that intimate, we were intimate.
Yeah, you were. Like,
There are a lot of intimate moments in here.
that's what the whole book is intimate. It's like I'm fucking opening up my heart, putting it on the page.
Yeah, it's fucking no holds barred. What do you want to? So we just talked about one snippet based on similar upbringings.
Right.
What'd you hope to accomplish with boy? Just want to get it out, like as an artist, just want to put it out there and get it off you, or did you have hopes for it?
I didn't have hopes.
No. I know you don't push it much.
I mean, well, it's fucking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I dropped it right before I had to go into rehab, so I was in a really bad way. And then, like, when I got out, it was already like
Where it was
for a week and a half. So what am I gonna do? Hey, get it. Like, I'm going to Chicago to go read, and people picked it up. But I don't know what I wanted people. This one I just wanted cats to be like, because I'm talking about the plague or whatever the fuck we're in right now, Corona. Talking about Corona, how it's really fucking, how the lockdowns really have negatively affected me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you don't really know till you're out of this shit, and I started looking at my mannerisms and how I'd been done with motherfucking traffic and the old outbursts that I used to. I worked through that shit. They came back after the pandemic. I'm motherfucking traffic. I'm on some stupid shit just because. But I didn't realize it till I noticed that behavior. I was like, oh man, fuck me up too. My son tried to kill himself.
I remember that shit.
Yeah. So I mean, it's real.
How's he doing?
He's better. So we weren't. He went to the psych ward twice because when he got out, he tried again. So back to back, and this is a year ago. Today almost. I mean, this time he was in there. So as soon as he got in there, they diagnosed him with some other shit. So we knew, we had an idea he was on the spectrum, very high functioning. In his mannerisms, though, you could see there was something off. And a lot of times they mistake that for ADHD, but it wasn't. So and some of this shit's made up anyway. But so as soon as he gets in there, they diagnose him with he's a kid, and he's saying, they say, are you depressed? He says yes. You don't even know what the fuck that means. They diagnose him with depression. They diagnose him with anxiety, and then they put psychotic tendencies on there. What the fuck are you talking about? Psychotic tendencies. He latched on to that. So they put him on. They had to ask me first, and they wanted to put him on some shit. Paxil. I'm like, no, you're not putting him on Paxil. They put him on trazodone. Here's what they want to do when you go to the psych ward. They want to give you three things: something for the dopamine, something for the serotonin, something to knock your ass out. So you're sedated during the day, they knock your ass out at night. That was their concoction. I'm like, you're not doing that to him. You've had him for a day. How the fuck are you gonna diagnose a 12-year-old kid? So anyway, he went through his 2 stints there. I refused to let him put him on the cocktail. I said, let him out, and we're gonna deal with this how we deal with it. So he got out, and we did said, fuck the medicine. I gave him the option though. I said, if you want to take it, but I want you to read this. This is the shit that happens. So you tried to kill yourself, and they're giving you shit that people have sued them for giving them suicidal thoughts. So we did Bufo, the toad.
Oh yeah, totally.
So we had a practitioner in town, and it was the first time me and her had done it. So we went, sat with this practitioner, and it's like changing shit. You know how a lot of psychedelics are. So we went in there, and he was saying how the Sonoran kids, it's a rite of passage at 12 or 13. So I was like, I'm gonna ask him if he'll sit with Vinny, and it's illegal as fuck in America because good shit is illegal. So he said, yeah. He said, but you can't talk him into it. Just tell him what it is, and if he says yes, then he's ready. And I was like, all right. So he told his mom, and I said, don't talk him into it. Just tell him. And he's scared shitless of shit like this. That's a illegal drug, and he said yes. So he went there, sat, and when he came out the next week, he was learning piano. Swear to fucking God, when he took his sister, jacked it out of her room, took it downstairs. I go in there, he's got blue fucking tape. This kid wanted to die. It was all darkness just prior. Now he's learning piano. He's cooking dinner for us. A year, I was balling like a bitch. So the other day, it was spring break last week. So Tuesday, he says, I'm going to go hang with my friends at the movies. I'm like, what? Because he hasn't. He's never done no shit like that. So he calls me at 11:30.
Like, don't say hey, motherfucker.
Yeah, like what the fuck? So, but and then it hit me
Right.
how far we'd gotten away from that bullshit. Yeah, I started bawling. I'm like, fuck yeah. I dropped what I was doing at work to come pick him up, drop him off, and told him I was proud of him.
Right.
He called me when he got out. I was just like a regular kid that didn't even know that he wanted to off himself during that pandemic shit. And so he's better. He's better because we didn't do it the way they told us to do it. And I'm not saying that that's not the right way for some people, but for us, he did the bufo ceremony. And ever since then, we've been talking about mindfulness. Just be mindful of what you think. You don't have to fear anything. Just be, it's all mindful.
Right.
And we do, we got this gratitude list that we make. We don't, there's a jackpot, Cedar Point at the end of it. You do 100 days of gratitude. We trying to instill this shit. He's better. He's better. Thanks for asking.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's gratitude is so important to happiness, man.
It's everything. Like it's the shit that got me out of the darkest shit, and there's still dark shit that you got to contend with when you're programmed. But like if I didn't learn to start being grateful for there's way more. If you write down a gratitude list and you write down what you're angry about, the angry list is always shorter.
Yeah, straight up.
You know what I mean? You're always going to find more shit to be grateful for if you think about it. If you don't, that's your ass, And
that's on you. Like,
but that's it.
Go be miserable. You know what I mean? You can't fucking marinate on what you're happy about, what you're grateful for, what you're thankful for.
Well, no, and that's what we see in the hood, right? Like people are busy complaining about the circumstance, and you can't blame them. It's shitty. Poverty sucks.
Yeah, it does.
It's shitty, man.
But you know what, man? Like it's hard to. It's tough when you're in it, and then when you take a step away from it, you're like, oh shit, this is American poor.
Yeah.
Yeah. American poor still has a flat screen.
Yeah.
Some type of video game system. School, fucking running water. I don't know.
You can write a letter about how angry you are because you know how to write.
Yeah. So like American poor is fucking, man, like it's like be grateful, but it you kind of do have to figure that out. You almost got to get out of it before you can figure it out. Like it's tough.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I could tell a broke motherfucker like, "Hey, man, look at National Geographic. Look, they living in a tin fucking hut over here and shitting in a bowl." Like, boom,
and they're happier than us.
Yeah.
You see some of those kids, they don't know to be. They don't think they should have more.
No, they're just fucking chilling.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's easy for me to fucking tell somebody that, but like I had to figure that out on my own. Yeah. Be really grateful. Like, we grew up poor, and then I got to travel. I was like, oh no, we didn't.
Yeah,
we did not grow up poor. We grew up fucking golden. Like,
and I remember my mom did the best she could with what she had when she got away from my dad. Man, she Hazel Park was the best she could do, and we were poor for white people standards in a poor neighborhood. Like we were dirt poor, digging out of St. Vincent or not St. So Goodwill drop boxes back then for school clothes. That's where we got our shit. So, but we didn't know we were poor. We came from the hood, so we were all poor. Like we were all in that shit together. And then when I got over there, it was the kids started making fun of my floods. I'm like, what are floods? I don't know what the fucking flood is. And so then the fight started happening, and it's what shaped me. You're right though. You got to get some opportunity. You got to, when I moved, I decided to go to Northern. I got out,
right, and
I got to see that. Well, people can have arguments and they don't have to knock each other's teeth out. You know what I mean? Like people can do these. It's different. I started learning that where I wasn't healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like whatever healthy is, but
not knocking each other's fucking head off
for some dumb shit. Racism. Not even getting on that shit. We were talking about it. It's not. That's a subject people can't talk about because the word itself is triggering, and it's meant to be. We have a fucking two-party system. They need people fighting. So you say that trigger, like trauma. So trauma happens. People think it happens because of the traumatic event. Trauma gets perpetuated because your processor's broken. So from the third trimester to your 3, your processor's being established, and you have either a healthy or unhealthy connection with your caregivers, attachment. It's that makes us unable. So there's veterans that'll go out to war and kill a bunch of motherfuckers and see a bunch of death. They go home grounded and back with their family and whatever. They had a healthy caregiver relationship. Then the other motherfucker is PTSD for life. because they can't process through the trauma. So when racism gets said in America, it triggers me in a different way, then it triggers you, then it triggers somebody else. We get caught on the trigger, our fucking brains go into fight or flight. When we hear that word, it goes into fight or flight. Now you can't even speak logically because you can't get back into your neocortex. It's physically impossible. So you're stuck in defense mode and you can't even have the conversation. So when they throw the word out there, they know you can't have a conversation. You're going to fight because it triggers you. So what people really need to talk about is, well, I'm a white man in America and I hear your story. I can't relate to what it is to be a black man in America, but I know I felt the same things as you through alienation and whatever. So I can relate to you from the perspective of trauma. That's the conversation people need to have, but they don't want to. Commercial, that's not going to sell any fucking newspapers. Nobody sells newspapers or news clips or whatever. It ain't going to have it. We all got traumatized by everything, like fucking seeing people's eyes gouged out. You know what I mean? Or some of the shit you talk about with ketamine, and that some of that's traumatic. Like I don't know how you were so brutally honest with your shit. Like I was like, oh shit, that's out there permanently. But that's a bad motherfucker to be able to do that.
There's strength and vulnerability. And to your point, like, look, man, religion, politics, race, everyone's got their mind made up. So I'm not gonna waste my breath on that shit. All I'm gonna do is fucking get the people that agree with me to be like, fuck yeah. People that don't. That's what it is. Like, fuck him. Yeah. So it's like,
scrap it.
I don't talk about it, dog. Like, it's become fucking. I don't think it's triggered. It's become a fucking cliche and kind of boring, dog. Like I'm bored by that. Like I'm bored having that conversation because I already know what happened. Like I already know the answers. Like I already know what people are gonna say.
Well,
this is one of the few nuanced views of that shit.
That's the only reason I talk about it, because I got something different to say, and it's only because I went through PTSD the way that I did, and I learned from an academic perspective too how that works. I feel it when it's happening. I know when a conversation can't go on any longer. Oh shit, they're there. Let me back out of this conversation because they don't even know what they're about to say next. They're just defensive. And you're right. Everyone's they got their defenses ready. Everybody. People wake up ready to have that argument with you.
Screaming at me at why they fucking aren't and why other people are. And other people going to say why I can't be and you can be. It's like, fuck it, buy my book. Like, sure, okay, fine, buy my book.
Well, like you said, there's strength and vulnerability.
Yeah.
When you share stories like this that are deeply personal, you're going to reach across any line. You're going to read it and just see a human being. Yeah. Whether they judge you or not is another thing, but
but buy the book, judge me, and buy the book and judge me. You know.
Yeah. Then you've invested $13. You couldn't fucking judge me for $13.
Yeah. Go ahead.
For free, you can suck my dick.
Pay to play.
Yeah, there it is. So like I talk about my dad dying.
That was the tough one. That made me have to put it down. Like when I read that, I was like, oh, you just went deep real quick. But I think that was a nice anchor.
Thank you. I mean, I had to. It was like you said. Like I just had to get that shit out. And this isn't. It was. I don't know when it's gonna start being cathartic. I don't know when I'm gonna start.
I think it was right there, man. Because you offset it with the dude, and I've had this happen because when you do anything publicly, people expect whatever that public persona is, and they don't think about you as a person. So this guy at fucking Enterprise is wanting to take your dad just died, and now you got to go fucking pose and say give shout outs to his girlfriend and shit. And that I was that when I read that I was like, yeah, fuck, because I haven't had any. No, he didn't. He's not a bad person because of it. It's just the juxtaposition of what it is to be in a public position that you are and then have to deal with real life.
Yeah, so like my dad died. And I was even like, I circled back to fucking like COVID. Like I could have seen this motherfucker before he died. The fucking COVID stopped me from being able to get on a goddamn plane. So now he dies while we're in the air. We're rushing over there.
Man,
I go to pick up the fucking rental, and that's when someone recognizes me, and I have to do the grin and grip shit, like, and truly be grateful. But
it can be.
I gotta go.
Yeah, like, I can't spend this time with you right now.
Yeah, and I'm beat up, man. Like I'm fucking beat up. Like I can't. Like you gotta fake smiles through shit, and it was rough, man. It was fucking rough.
So I know because I know your books and I know a lot of your story. And what was your relationship with your dad like?
It's tough. So much like if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have thought I could have gone out to California. He left early. He left us early to go out to pursue an acting career. He never got it. But I was like, oh, you could like seeing him do it. I was like, oh, you can go out there and do that shit. So like, and I'm so grateful to him for that. But the rub was I was more successful than he was.
Yeah.
So there was a certain level of competitiveness that I was winning, and it's tough beating your father and they're not proud of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not happy for you. So like anything that I had on the horizon, I wouldn't tell him about because I couldn't. I didn't want his energy on that shit.
Yeah.
I didn't want him. I didn't want his envy on. Like this world is hard enough, man.
That shit'll fuck up love real quick.
Yeah, this world is hard enough. Like to have, like, it's already hard for me to get a break, let alone having my dad rooting against my breaks. Yeah. On the low, you know.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
I never had to deal with that.
Yeah, he's like, I remember us being in the car, and it was one of the stories that I ended up putting in Hummingbird that wasn't in there originally. And he was like, it was about him and some wild shit that he did. And he was like, man, you're using this just to sell books. And no, bro.
He wanted to say, get his piece of your success. He wanted to implement that really.
He was like, get it out of there. It never happened. You're using this to sell books and da da da. I'm like, fine, I'll take it out, man.
Did you take it out? You did, didn't you?
I took it out and then I put it
back in. Yeah, I remember.
It was fucking up and then he died. So like, it was fucking rough, man.
Like, I'm dealing with that with the memoir. Like, I'm gonna be brutally honest. I'm just gonna be truthful. There's shit my mom can't remember.
Yeah, they block it out,
and they can't. And I know because I know now. I know how I'm real sympathetic to when that shit shuts off. But she's like, that never happened. I'm like, no, I remember him beating me with that telephone wire that he pulled down because I walked out of the bathroom too early in fucking school. That happened, ma. But I don't have to argue with her because I don't want to traumatize her. You know what I mean? Like, she had to block it out so she could cope with it.
Totally. I mean, I had something similar with my mother where I came to terms with being mad at her, and it was really hard for her to hear that, and she didn't react in a negative way, like fuck you. She reacted like with guilt. Yeah, which is still negative. And I'm just like, yo, like, you're good. Let me process this shit. And the more guilt you feel, and you're like, she more clawing you are. It's just like get off of me. Like, let me fucking get it. Like, I wish I didn't. Like, I had to write it, but I wish she didn't know it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it really changed it made our dynamic even worse.
But is it better now?
I've had to I had to go to rehab, and like one of the reasons I went to rehab was to get her to fuck away from me.
Really?
Like, stay the fuck away. Like, get away from me, dude. Like, I get it. Like, I went from her not being around and then she moved away when I was 17. So, and then I moved away when I was 22. Yeah. So like, I haven't dealt with her in 25 years. You know what I mean? And then suddenly she's like, this is what a mom is. And I'm like, I'm not used to a fucking mom. I need some fucking space. Yeah. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's overcompensating. You know, what do we do with all that guilt? You gotta move beyond it, right? Like, I did stupid shit. You know, there's shit that I did before I knew better, and I didn't have the process available to. You can't beat yourself up for that shit. You gotta. There's a certain point where you gotta have compassion for yourself and say,
totally.
I didn't fucking know, and that's what I told my mom. Like, Mom, nobody, you're a fucking hero. He tried to kill your ass.
All right.
You know what I mean? We would have all been dead probably. Because there's other people in the family got stabbed. My aunt got stabbed 37 times by her husband. Like, it was a family of fucking killers. So you saved our lives. No, we had shit. It was tough growing up because we didn't have, but we got the fuck out of there, and I have my life now. So you're a hero. So stop with the guilt shit.
To your fucking point, it's like, look, dude, like, I'm doing like all of the fucking struggles that I go through. I'm still I'm still creating. I'm still paying for my own way. Like, I'm taking care of her. Like,
and you're part of that.
Yeah, you're good, dude. Like, we're fucking golden. I need to process this shit and fucking get out of my way while I'm doing it, because you're just adding more to it, you know? Like, so any parent out there that feels bad about what you did, like, yo, you're human.
Yeah, right. And that's
give yourself
on that other shit that we were just talking about. You're human, man. Like, why? and I say why, I know why I was so defensive, because I was insecure. Like I hadn't become a man yet to me, and I was still fucking up. So because I wasn't admitting where I was flawed,
right,
I had to overcompensate. And that shit was a motherfucker. Like that character right there, Life Goes On. That was me killing off that cool Vince. Because there were all those years where I just got sick of fighting. So I'm like, all right, well, let me do. That's where the better day shit. I owned After Hours. I said, motherfuckers like to party. You know what I mean? And if I beat a couple people up and I take their woman, then I'll have some status. And and I hated that shit. Like I hated everything that I didn't. There was some fun shit. Like I had some good times, but it wasn't all a loss because I processed it. But that was the best character in acting that I ever created was that dude. And Life Goes On was about that. Now you MC'd that shit. Yeah. You came out and I remember standing on stage. I think you introduced me. I came out behind you. And this is like, the biggest, it was an independent film, but there's like 1,200 people there. Yeah. And I wrote, produced, starred in it. And it was my first, into that realm where I started in the shit. It was mine. And everyone was there to see me. And I remember feeling alone as fuck. I don't know if you got that when you started having, I remember that's the most alone that's the first flashback that I ever had. Emotional flashback from PTSD was on that stage. And I'm giving this fucking speech about full circle and blah, 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 blah. But then I stepped outside of my body and it was just, I was looking at myself rattling this shit off. And it just felt like all the life got sucked out of the room and I'm standing there alone. It was fucking crazy. Oh, shit. Yeah, I remember that like a motherfucker. And it was big. Yeah, there was a lot of shit, a lot of that was cathartic for me, but it wasn't then because I blocked it out. I just went on with that party shit. I rode the fucking the wave of the movie and buried myself in that life. And it took me a while to get it. It took my son really to pull me out of that shit. I know you said in the book you're coming back. You were telling Ange you're coming back to get married, have some kids. And
it's life, I know, buddy. I talk about it in the book. I fucking tried to settle down and started having sex with this woman with no condom on and gave her vaginitis and I ate her vagina and got that shit in my throat.
Oh shit!
Twice. Shit. Yeah. Cleared up. I took this and then.
Did you say it twice?
Well, I didn't say it twice. But like, it happened fucking twice, dude. Like, antibiotics. Start talking a little bit better, and then I go back at it and lost my voice again. Yeah.
Just fucking.
So I had to fucking learn how to fucking talk again, like crazy.
From some sex. That's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah, me. I had to do all these crazy vocal exercises.
Did you really?
Yeah, dude. Fuck.
We got you on the live. We're on live talking about it.
Yeah. Fucking hey, dude. Yeah, it was fucking nutty. It really makes me want to believe in God just to be like, really, dog? For real, bro.
He's got a sense of humor, or she, or whatever the fuck it is up there.
Well, bro, fucking with me nonstop. But yeah, I'd like to meet somebody.
That ties back to what you guys were saying. The goal. This is so much part of our relationship too. The goal
we didn't have that goal.
This ideal, that's sort of like I'm gonna settle down, then it'll look different. All these things will look different in some way, or there'll be some sort of redemption. We talked about that's like in some way there's a horizon, there's a picket fence of some kind, right?
Right.
And what you guys were just talking about with the moms and the guilt that people around us feel, and do we tell those stories? How do we tell those stories?
Right.
Jesus, smack dab in the middle of hers too.
Right. Yeah. All of us being writers. I mean, I'm amazed at the stuff that we've been able to have grappled with, what to not share, what to share. Not for me.
Share it all.
For others, right? How to.
You know how I do it? I'm like, because there's like, my father and my sister had their own fucking shit. My mother and my sister had their own shit. It affected me peripherally, but it didn't affect me directly. So like if it doesn't affect me directly, it's not my business to say. Now if it affects me directly, I don't give a fuck. I'm fucking like this being said. If I don't like it, should have been apart. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I do it. And the less apologetic you are for it, the less wiggle room the less they'll pounce on you. Like, like if you ever fuck up in public, never apologize.
Right, yeah.
Because they're gonna fuck. Oh, it was a weakness. Fucking get you. So fuck it, write it.
There's a really empowering quote. It's helped me a lot when I read it. Anne Lamott. She wrote.
I don't know.
She's famous. She wrote Bird by Bird. And I don't know who's in that book, but I read a quote that said something like, "If people wanted you to write warmly about them, you should treat you better."
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Just right
And I
behind
think that's
Well, and
the
here's the
helpful.
thing, like what I said is what I came to grips with is if somebody's going to penalize me for telling the truth, they're still in that codependent space, and I can still love them, but you don't get a front row to my movie. This is my movie. Like you said, it affected me direct. I'm gonna talk about it. I ain't gonna hide shit. I'm gonna be respectful. I might change for there's some criminal shit that I was involved in that I can't use those names, but I'm gonna talk about the shit that affected me. You know, my parents weren't criminals. I can talk about your mom. They're gonna figure out who you are, even if I change your name. So, but she's good though. She don't like it. She don't like the fact that we're on welfare and all that. Look, you did the best you fucking could. You had 2 kids at 17 and a dude that tried to murder you. The fuck you gonna do? You know?
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing all right. Yeah, we're alive.
All these ideals that we have that it perpetuates toxic shame. We carry around shame because we weren't good enough, because we didn't do things well enough, because we didn't. So
Going back to this system that tells you should be a certain way at this age, you should do this, and fuck, I should. I should do what the fuck what feels right.
I know it sounds crazy, but I'm pretty fine with being like a shitty dad. Like I've already come to terms with that.
You have to.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, dude, I wasn't the best dad, you know, and I'm aware of the circumstances, and that's it.
Because then you can deal with it. Like once you're honest, now I got something I can deal with. I ain't a victim to it anymore. Like now I can fucking talk about it, and if you can't handle it, I can only be honest. You know what I mean? Like, all I can do is be honest.
It's funny, like that. Everybody was like, that was like the one thing, and I think you'll probably run into it too. People like, man, it's fucking like no one's writing like this. It's like I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah,
like,
and they're not though.
It's well, and I guess that is fucking like that's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate thing about our time.
Yeah.
That people just telling the truth are few and far between. Like,
and they get attacked. And when you apologize for being truthful, they're gonna strip that truth right away from you and villainize your ass.
Yeah, and
all of this would have been edited down to nothing.
Trust, I know.
You can't say that. Yeah, I can. I just did.
They've oh, I thought you were handling.
I was want you to read something if you want.
Oh, you want me to read? Yeah, and
I think I got it.
The way they did me too is like they don't fucking gun at me because that'll give me fucking shine.
Yeah.
They just ignore me. Like that's what has been done. Is my shit has just been ignored.
Internet changed that shit. Like being ignored in the past used to mean you're done. You can't get nothing out. You need a publisher. Fucking Amazon. I go straight to Amazon. You don't like it, so then you get your audience, and those are the true ones. Like the people that are reading this now, without all the big fucking big releases and shit. That's really who you want to talk to anyway, because they're relating to your story, and they're whether they know it or not, it's validating something in them. They're like that's important.
Yeah,
just humanity.
No, yeah, like it. I'm just fucking keeping it 100. That's it.
It'd be fun to make that movie, but nobody would release it. Nobody's gonna. But they might though. You know what I mean? Like that one story about the investor, and he fucked his girl.
Oh yeah.
That's a movie in itself. Like that whole thing. I can't tell you how many times I dealt with investors on some weird shit and wound up in these fucking situations where they ain't no different. In fact, a lot of them are more deviant than the people that we knew in the hood. Like they're on some other shit.
Yeah, my buddies back home are fucking squares compared to like when I got out to LA and saw the fucking the cesspool, bro. I was like, yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is this? They made me feel dirty, and I was I ran my mouth, but I realized how naive I was to some of that shit. Midwest is different.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're fucking squares compared to what the fuck they got going on. I'll read something quick. I don't like. Yeah, this one is a follow up to Sadie Hawkins and what's it call it? It's Sadie Hawkins. I wrote this book a story called Sadie Hawkins about me, this little teenager. She was like 18. She hit me up, and she had cystic fibrosis. I wasn't familiar with the shit. It's a death sentence.
Yeah.
She hit me up to fuck, and I was like, Cool. That was I kind of write about that.
Did you talk about it in
I
another book?
I wrote about it in Hummingbird.
Yeah.
And this is like the second part to it. Actually, you know what? No, that's too long. I'll read this one called Little Lies.
I like how you just prefaced that. You just marketed the shit out of that though.
Yeah.
Now someone's gonna buy it.
Read Hummingbird too.
Oh yeah, get Hummingbird, get them both. Get the white Hummingbird. I'll get paid for that one. I get hit up by a swinger on Instagram. She's coming to LA for a weekend. I've done the girlfriend experience for a few days at my spot, and it usually goes good. But when it goes bad, it goes horrible. And it does. I brought Breezy down from Washington. We go to fuck, and she's a big chick, not fat, just thick as fuck. I'm not strong enough for them chicks. Stacking her legs takes all my energy. Lifting weights with a hard on ain't easy. So I down a bunch of Viagra, and it's a 3-day workout. I remember that first.
How much Viagra can you take?
Bro, I was on I had the big boy. I got them all day from India, so I'll be eating them motherfuckers like chiclets, bro. Yeah, was beating it up. The only break I get from her is from Eddie. We're having a circular argument about some bunk bikes we bought. I'm trying to get the money back, and he wants to hold on to the bikes as proof. I say, they already believe you. They just want them back. He's like, if they already believe me, they don't need them back. We go round and round about it for an hour. Breezy gets tired of our fight, takes a bunch of G. I remember we're like fighting. We're at the picnic table in my living room or in my room, and me and my homeboy are going back and forth. And all we do is argue. We get faded and argue. And she just was exasperated. She's like, oh fuck it. I had a 20-ounce bottle of fucking G, and she was like, blam. And I was like, that could be a fucking problem. Like how much did she get, bro? I see her nodding and joke, go to my room, I'm gonna rape the shit out of you. I did say that. She goes in my room and ends up collapsing face down on my carpet. I turn her head to the side. I'm in bed on Tinder, swiping on chicks, waiting for her to wake up and hoping she doesn't puke on the shearling rug. She does. We take it easy the next day for both our sakes. We're cool, but that was her last trip to LA. I get some annoying dime from Sacramento. She complains about everything from the coke to the music to the parties. I remember this fucking bitch. Yeah. And she was like, I wish I was half as smart as she thought she was. By the end of the night, I end up having to have a threesome with her and my hooker friend Molly just to take the edge off. And that's the fucking truth. I was at a fucking party with her and was so embarrassed. I had to like get her to fuck gone. Called up my fucking sex worker homegirl. Was like, yo, I got ecstasy. Come fucking eat this chick's pussy or some shit. And we went ham. And then she's on the floor. Yeah.
You hear that?
Earmuffs. She's on the floor bragging that she always makes the guy pay for shit. My pop always says it doesn't matter how good a girl looks, there's always someone tired of fucking her. I'm exhausted. She's the type of chick no one ever tells her breath stinks because they just want to fuck. I put her in a cab 4 hours before her plane leaves and make her pay for it. And that's the last we talk. Even my prostitute homie was like, what the fuck was that? I said, I guess she thinks she's the baddest chick in Sacramento. Nobody looks that good to be acting that way. Then the swinger hits. I tell her to book a room just in case. She shows up in my studio while I'm doing the show with a giant bag. It puts me on edge. How long is she staying? Her man calls up. We put him on the air. It's surreal talking to the husband of the wife you plan on fucking the shit out of. He's more comfortable with it than I am. He tells me, have fun, she gives great head, and bails. It's funny, that's what they all say. Every time I'm like found out that I'm fucking someone's girl, they're like, she gives great head. I'm like, all right, let's see. It's
always good to lead in.
Yeah, yeah, straight up. I would be like, don't fuck my girl. I would not be like, she gives great head, brother. I don't care.
Enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, you do. let's see. We get back to my spot and go at it. I got this thing that usually makes me nut where I have girls tell me something sexually they're embarrassed of. It turns me on. Not that they like farted on a dude, but like some shit they're ashamed of. I don't know, like tricking on the side or some shit like that. Let's see. It turns me on that they're opening up and telling me disgusting things. And it's actually quite intimate. And I usually bust. It makes them feel better that they're not being judged for the shit they've been beating themselves up for. And it ends up being cathartic, which is all true.
It's true.
The shit she tells me is fucking filthy, and I'll never tell anybody because it's fucking disgusting. But I had her tell me like 4 more times. The shit she tells me is fucking filthy. I can't even repeat it. I come buckets. We arrange for another meeting. This time she says, I need you to do something for me. I say, what's that? She says, when we fuck, I'm going to tell you I love you, and I want you to say it back. I say, you don't love me. She says, that's for me to decide. I'm like, but I don't love you. She goes, think that's okay. Lie. Think of it as role play. She's riding me. And when she says it, I don't say nothing. So she says it again. Finally, I say it back, and I actually feel a rush. I'm telling someone with a husband, a family in another state far away, that I have zero chance of taking serious. I love them, and she loves me. And I'm getting these dopamine hits. I haven't said that in 10 years, since my girl of 5 years. The lies we tell ourselves to feel better. Just a little lie. That's about being loved.
Yeah. It's
kind of faking it and forgetting what it feels like to be loved.
So people get addicted to love, the idea of love, what relationships are, this idea of what things are supposed to be, how your parents are supposed to, none of that's true. Like, so you said something important. If you're not dealing with, like when my son tried to kill himself, there was only one thing I could do that was beneficial, and that was, I didn't want him to do that. I didn't want him to be the way he was, and I could fell into guilt. What did I do to help? Because I played a part. You know what I mean? Maybe I wasn't present and listening to him when he said the pandemic, whatever it was. I had to move past that, and I just had to focus in on him. I had to say, who are you in this moment? Whoever that is, that's what I'm dealing with. Fuck what I perceive the way it should be, the way I would like to. The truth in the moment is you right now, and I'm going to zero in on you. Otherwise, I can't hear you. I can't be beneficial to you or me. I'm going to collapse under the pressure of my own thoughts. Right. You know what I mean? And people let that love shit. So what acting is and I tell her it's living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. Right. If you're a good actor, you create I'll create an 80-page I'll create an 80-page bio on a fucking, I got like maybe 5 scenes in a fucking movie. 80-page bio on who this is. So when I walk in, there's depth. I know who this person is, and I'm not out there trying to have a good performance, right? I'm not trying to, I have an agenda that's attached to that actor. So in that moment, you guys knew you were acting, but you got to live truthfully, and that shit felt good. That's what acting is.
And I didn't realize how starved I was for that. But it takes balls, and it takes guts, and it takes courage to love and to be loved. Some people are better at it than others. Some people they do it too much. But like for me to just love somebody or say I love them, it's hard.
It's hard as fuck.
So that was like this weird reminder, because it almost was like being in the desert for fucking 10 years and finally getting some water. And, even if it feels pretend water,
but it matters. Like in that moment. So before her, like I'd stopped looking. I'm like, you know what? I got my kids.
Right.
I'm gonna be the best father I can be. Right. I don't have a problem filling the bed if I need to. You know what I mean? Like that can happen till I can't anymore. And now I'm not taking no more Viagra. Fuck it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I had made that, and then she pops up on Instagram in France during the pandemic. And from day one, we said, well, all we care about is growth, really. Don't care how a motherfucker's growing or where they are, but we care about honesty, we care about growth. And if we're not growing together, saying hard shit to each other, then we prefaced it immediately. And then all of a sudden we're like, she was going back to LA to do her thing with her job. Said, I'm gonna stop in Detroit, maybe do a one-way ticket. And then, but it's been all based on honesty. Tell me that embarrassing shit. Tell me the shit that might offend me, because I got some shit that doesn't make sense in this moment. I need to unpack that. Can you help me unpack that shit?
Yeah.
And that's what the relationship's been. It's just unpacking shit. So some of the deepest, darkest things that you don't even remember. But when you're in the space where you're not being judged, all that shit can come out. And that's what that was, man. You got that in the moment, and then you start to realize, well, maybe there is an innate drive towards that shit. Like that's what we want, you know what I mean? But the dream we're sold, it's not real, you know. And we get attached to that shit, and when we don't get it, we crumble. We think we're bad. We think they're bad. Crazy shit.
Yeah, when you're willing to see it for what it is, you're willing to be wrong, or say I've made decisions based on something that's completely fictitious, doesn't make any sense. When you get on a Zoom call and you say, okay, here's all the things you might judge me about. That's
dump them
right here.
Both of us.
It's me.
Dump them. There's a shit that I would never say in an opening conversation, but I don't have time to sell somebody.
No.
Like just laid it out, and then we bonded by laying out the most embarrassing shit about it. And then it's not embarrassing anymore. Once you put that fucking book out there, that shit ain't embarrassing anymore. You can talk about it.
It's empowering.
Yeah, it's just like it happened.
Yeah.
And that's it.
People don't want shit to happen. They want to cancel you because shit happens.
The way that I approach it, like your shirt.
Yeah, non-attachment. Let that shit go.
Well, then you start seeing people are just like that. I love you moment. People are starving for real stories.
Contact. But they not physical contact. That's a conduit. You know, a lot of people use it for that. Some people just like to fuck, and that's cool. Yeah. But then there's the people, the majority of people that you find out. That's why I was just done, because I was like, I keep getting tricked. People tell me they're growing because they're on my Instagram and they see some shit and then they recite it to me. And then all of a sudden my dumb ass is thinking, you know, I'm not even thinking, second guessing it. And now I'm caught in this relationship where, man, I'm going to devastate her if I leave this shit. You know what I mean? Because I got my codependent issues. So it's tough out there. It's tough. And I don't like hurting people. So I was just done. I was like, fuck it. I got my kids. I'm not going on Tinder and fucking, I'm not doing those dates because I don't even want to tell this person that lied to me about who they were that I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but it's crazy. I've been lied to several times. Showed up, like, you know, that's not you. And I feel bad, and I buy them dinner. I sit through the sushi. I remember this one girl sat through the sushi and paid for the dinner. And
I was wondering why they use filters. Because this gentleman right here, like, I got these. So you want what kind of sushi do you want? You get a free meal.
Man, a woman could hustle. Dudes could hustle on that shit too. They do, I guess.
Yeah.
Well played, people.
Well played, ugly lady.
Yeah. Getting the angles just right. The fucking filters.
I have to, I've been there, and I'm like, damn, this bitch looked like a toad. And I called her a bitch, but whatever. She was lying. So I'm like looking at her like, and then every now and then her head will go like that. I'm like, that's the shot. That was a shot. Well fucking played.
You spent like 7 days creating that profile picture and got you.
I know it's tough. It's got to be hard for women often judge themselves on their looks, but yeesh. Quit lying on that shit, man.
Yeah, because if you can't be that, what you are right now, be that, and then you don't have to be that anymore because you can be honest about it. You're not victim to it. That's if I'm a toad, I'm a toad. Yeah. You know, whatever the fuck I am, I got to be the best at it.
I'm showing my bald ass head. I'm like, come on, I'm Kaiser Soze in this bitch.
It's a sickness that was inherited as women for generations. And now we're fed it back to ourselves constantly with loophole. We don't even know what we look like anymore.
But you were in France, and I remember being in Germany, and I don't know if Germany and France are the same place, but I remember seeing like put together fucking 50-year-old women that weren't like clutching on to the youth. They were dressed appropriately, riding a bicycle, and I was breaking my neck for them shits, bro. They was fucking bad. Like
aging gracefully is such a wonderful thing.
Oh my god! And realizing that, like, there's so much shit that you know more than this fucking like.
Yeah.
Like banging a 20-year-old is a fucking headache. Like that's a
death sentence. Nah, that's a death sentence.
Ugh. I mean, hey, listen to this song. Trap. Shut the fuck up.
Dating tip.
What's that?
Profile. Girls.
Yeah.
No makeup picture.
Dude, love that.
That's the most impressive. It might not mean that you're clicking on it, but there's respect. You know.
Include it.
Yeah, I agree. Like no makeup. I mean, like
The way you look in the morning.
And ladies, y'all know that shit. Y'all know what we like. You always are getting hit on when you're looking dusty as fuck when you feel like you're dusty as fuck at the grocery store.
And they don't believe us when we say it.
No, these the asses hanging just right in the sweatpants, like we're like Zoom caveman. Hey, what are you doing?
You soccer mom, right?
Yeah, like that is attractive.
Back to honesty, just honesty.
Yeah, be real.
And I mean, I don't know if writing these books has led you to more honest people. It should.
Well, yes and no. Like I talk about it. Like in Cali, it brought me around a bunch more writers and shit like that. And those guys are full of shit.
Well, you know, a lot of them. Then you meet a good one, and you're like, we can talk.
Well, the working writers are full of shit.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
not, they're fucking whispering like on the low, like this is what I really believe. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Meanwhile, they're fucking broadcasting all this other shit just so that they can keep getting hired, and that's unfortunate, man. Like, I don't know. I don't watch a ton of new shit just because I'm bored by that. It's fucking whack.
We're so filtered, but that's where the internet can be positive, is that you don't have to be like when they start stealing that, the government starts shutting that down, we got problems. You know, we got big problems. But right now we still have access. You know, I told you about that. We the people shit. But like we got power in numbers if we can just get out of our own fucking way and realize like there's an enemy here, and it ain't us. It ain't each other. Like these motherfuckers. There's 14 corporations that own pretty much everything on this fucking globe, and that's public enemy number one, not your neighbor.
No, even if y'all don't get along, he's still
in the same boat, still wants the same shit. He's struggling through fucking trying to put his kids in school, you know, whatever the fuck it is. Like he struggles the same way you do in a different way, right? It's all fucking. We want to be connected. We don't want to feel alienated. We want to feel like we're being seen and nobody's judged. We don't want to be judged. Like humans are real fucking simple. If you can get past all the bullshit and just look at humans for being human and let them have their flaws, you know what I mean? But that only happens when you can be. The hardest part for me was being compassionate with myself because I was abandoned and I was beaten when I was a kid. I had to be perfect at everything outside. So I became an actor. I went like, let me make people love me, and then let me own businesses to make people have to need me. You know what I mean?
That's smart. I never thought about it.
But that's what psychologically I was making it to where you can't leave me because I have the best parties. I can go here and do this and look at me, but I was fucking broken. You know what I mean? And it took my son for me to finally and ketamine. So I had this moment of clarity. I was down in Texas, and at the time I was still fucking international drug trafficking. You know what I mean? Trying to support my acting career. So I'm down in Texas waiting on a load to come over the border, and my friend had give me some ketamine, and I did it at the clubs and shit. I didn't like it. It was like all floaty, and I was always carrying like a pocket full of ecstasy and cash, and I couldn't be caught off guard. So I was like, "Fuck that shit."
Be in a K-hole.
That's what me. That's what me. And I've done it. I've been down it, but
float away.
I remember that out of body experience shit. So when I had a moment of clarity down in Texas, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Right. Everything just made sense. And what it turns out, that's transcendental meditation. This is a cheat to get into. I didn't know that. So I'm going through these. I hadn't been diagnosed with PTSD yet, so I don't know what these flashbacks are. Am I an alcoholic? Am I a drug addict? Am I a fucking whatever? Like I'm going to all these different 12 steps things, trying to figure shit out. And finally, I got to a point where I was getting something from my son, and it was scary. And I didn't know what he was 1 year old. I didn't know what this little fucker was giving me. I was but I know my dad ran from it because I was probably giving it to him, and he didn't know how to process. So I said, look, I'd rather die than be what I might become for this little fucker right here. You know what I mean? He didn't ask to be here. So I better be better. And I was scared to take ketamine the way I was reading medical journals on it. And because I had that moment of clarity and I didn't want to inject that shit. Even though I'd done steroids in college, you know what I mean? But I didn't want to do it. It was really a block because I knew something was on the other side that was going to make me have to work to get better. Like subconsciously, my higher self knew that shit. So I did it. I put him down for a nap, and I had a batch of ketamine. I followed the journal to the T. And I remember the first dose, I did it. Let me just put it less than what they said. Right. I wasn't following directions, and I had this moderate effect. And then I went back to, I'd rather die. So if I'm going to die right now, because you don't know at first, I'm sitting there by myself, fucking going through this by myself with my little infant son. So I did the dose and got ripped out of my fucking body. So the 5 senses dissipate, right? This is what happens when you fucking die. You have it out of body experience. You're not always going to, but that time I did. And I remember standing outside of my, outside of myself. I'm on the couch incapacitated. I'm just looking at me. I said, you're an asshole, but it was in a real loving way, like it's fucking real loving, talking to me in the way I communicate. You're an asshole. You need to change some things. And I've never been the same. Like that moment right there, and what I realized, it opened up the neural pathway to unconditional love. That's what my son was trying to feed me. No judgment, no nothing. I didn't know how to accept that shit. And when that opened up, all I wanted to do was be better. So I was reading books on quantum physics and melding that to spirituality. I couldn't get off this shit. And it became a problem for me because I thought the drug was the thing. So I kept and I had unlimited supply. So I'm driving out to New York, grabbing 500 bottles and bringing it back. And I just didn't want to leave the space. And then through reading and everything, I finally had it in me to meditate. And when I hit transcendental meditation, I realized, I'm like, oh, that's this. It was a cheat code. It got me to get past my bullshit so I could sit there. And then once I could sit there outside of the space, then I didn't need it. You know what I mean? Then it became something that I could do every few months or something or whenever. And it wasn't something I wasn't driven back to it. It was a conduit to, I'm feeling kind of cloudy. Let me knock that shit out of my head real quick. But I don't know if you had the same experience. Yeah, you've had some other ones. Yeah, I had. So
it's funny that unconditional love caused you to try harder.
Yeah,
you're like, what? One would think that you wouldn't try as hard because it's like, motherfucker, you love me no matter what. But you're like, nah, I got unconditional love, and I'm gonna.
Well, it opened it up for me too, because I'd spent my entire life hating me because of what my dad. But I was so to overcompensate and do these things that people could pat me on the back for. It was fake, you know what I mean? It was artificial. And when I stood on that stage, and I walked away from real big fucking movie that went on because I knew I was going to kill myself. Like if I wound up in that space with those people who were kind of my idols, I knew. So I bailed on the investor meeting because I had the investor and said I bailed. I was out, but. I knew, I don't know what it is, that there was this inside voice that said, not yet. You don't want that shit yet because you're dad, you know? And I wanted to love myself. And that's when it opened it up. So I started seeing shit through that lens. I didn't know that. That's all hindsight. Shit got harder for me because everything I was programmed with, I felt the opposite. I didn't have a therapist at the time. It was illegal. So I didn't know how to process through this shit, but I made it. I stuck to that. Whatever I saw in that moment was all I care about is truth. So it was the deepest truth that I've ever experienced in my life. And I wasn't going to let that shit go. You know what I mean? I wasn't letting it go for nothing, nobody. And I didn't care who thought that it was bullshit. Like, okay, well, you don't belong here. You know what I mean? It was that kind of shit became simpler, but I was losing people, and I thought that was a detriment. It wasn't. It was like, no, you need to uncloud this shit. You know what I mean? I remember putting posts on Plenty of Fish. I said, this is me still talking like an asshole. I'm sick of bar whores. I want somebody who talks about quantum physics and I just really, and that was embarrassing for me to say because I come from a place where, hey, you have nightclubs and you have this, that, show the money, you do. And I said that shit, and I fucking met someone who we just wound up being friends, but she led me to Greg Braden and all these spiritual. It was fucking amazing when I was honest. So I just kept being honest whenever I could, and it felt uncomfortable. I just said some shit, and things got better, But the unconditional love thing, I had to have it for me, and that's what he was showing me. His little soul was saying, "Come on, you dumb motherfucker! I'm trying to show you." You know what I mean? Like we're all interacting. Yeah, well, he because for him it was. He's this pure little fucking. You know what I mean?
So the thing about love is we're taught to think. Somehow we're taught you have to earn it, or we have to earn trust. You have to earn that I am trustworthy to you, or you're trustworthy to me. When you started out, trust is a blanket. That's a given.
Reckless abandonment with the trust. Like I'm just going to trust you because I say I do, and I'm going to every time I say I start to feel those fucking things pop up, and I say to myself, do you trust her, motherfucker? Or do you not? Like, are you lying?
Go towards the truth.
Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? And let it be what it's going to be.
Anti-fragility, but what you said about the unconditional love making you be better instead of complacent, that's true, because we want to be worthy of it. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, totally. It is an interesting dynamic.
It made me want, I just wanted to be better for me. Like, not even, it wasn't about showing anything to anybody. And it wasn't so much about my kids, because I knew that even though they can break you, you know how it is with kids, and they don't know any better. It was about, I got to be good for me, because if I'm not good for me, I ain't good for nobody. I can fake it a lot. I can fake it. And I did for years and years and years, but I was like, I got to get myself right. And I got it. It was Wayne Dyer. He did, you know, Wayne Dyer. He did this book called Wisdom of the Ages, and he studied 60 of the greatest thinkers of our time, not even of our time, but Jesus, Gandhi, you know, people that made great impact on the globe. You can think they made whatever, but they impacted the globe in a way that's forever. It'll never go. Martin Luther King. So what he realized is they had three things in common, all of them. They were not driven by power. They were not attached to outcome, and they were completely unattached to the good opinion of other people. They just had a truth, and whether you believed in their truth or not, most of them knew they were going to die. They knew that I don't fit in this space, but I got to say this no matter what. And that not being attached to the good opinion of others resonated with me, because I was so fucking codependent, and I so needed other people's approval that it put me in that space to where I could almost die. Well, I almost did die. I don't more times than I can count, you know, and it was, and I became unattached to the good opinion of others or the bad opinion. Like, I don't live in your opinions, you know what I mean? And you don't live in mine. So, fucking live and let live. The golden rule started to make sense. I'm like, oh, well, that's what the fuck they were saying, do unto others. But I was doing unto others what I was doing to me. I was abusing them in the same way I was abusing myself. You know, and manifesting my own fucking destiny with these women that I didn't want to be around. How do I keep it? Me, motherfucker. Wherever you go, there you are. When you were talking about, you know, we set these goals, and then we get attached to the goal, and we think when we hit that goal, it never changes us. You know what I mean? We're still there in that same space going, what the fuck happened? Me, I'm the common denominator.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think I talk about that in the book.
You do? Yes.
In passing.
But I got it. I latched onto it. I'm like, I knew it was this is a deeper thing than the other ones are deep too. They're fucking real Bukowski-like in the honesty, brutal honesty. Really don't have a problem throwing yourself on those grenades. Like, fuck it. You know, and it is cathartic to be able to do that, and the shit's brave. You know, it's something that when people are telling you that most people aren't writing that, they're just saying, man, you're fucking out. You're kind of scary, because you're saying some shit that I wish I could say. I wish I could just lay my shit out there like that. Well, you can do it.
It's pretty easy.
But it ain't though, is it? Well, I mean, when you're putting it out there, like, it probably got easier after the first book.
It was easy to write. It was hard to put send on that bitch.
Yeah.
That was fucking, I was like, oh, they're gonna think I'm a bitch, you know. I'm a bitch made. Like, now it's like, I kind of got this fucking, like, I don't think we have to like each other. We don't have to like each other. Just don't get in each other's fucking way.
Respect.
Yeah, just
mutual respect.
Yeah. You know, like, just fucking leave me the fuck alone. You don't like me. Well, and I'll keep pushing, and you'll keep pushing. So, like, this idea, like, I really got over that needing to be liked by people. I wanted to be understood, but even being understood, it still drives me crazy when I'm not understood. But, like, what are you gonna fucking do? Like,
well, then it's only from your perspective, right? Like, you have your perspective, and what I realize is, like, because we're so honest, I'm starting to see things from a female perspective that I never thought about before. I'm like, and the way that I speak, it's my perspective. Wow. When I do a character, actors are like, well, I lost myself in the, you didn't lose yourself in. You still had to create, I think this person would do this based on this, and this. And where'd that come from? Your life experience, motherfucker. You think it looks pretty good, but but it's still you creating, but based on your perceptions. So when I'm talking, as evolved as I think I still fuck up because I only know me.
Right.
So all I can do, I'm getting better at asking questions. Why do you think that way? Instead of, you shouldn't think that way, or that's stupid, or I say, why? Why do you think that way? You know what I mean? You're getting pretty good at that too, because like you don't want to talk about the racism shit. And it's really not what I was trying to center the focus on, but you ask questions, you know what I mean? And when you ask questions, now somebody has to answer. So even if they are attacking you, that kind of, they're like, whoa, now they got to answer, they got to think. And it might pull them out of their bullshit.
What is that, the Socratic method?
Yeah.
Some shit fancy.
Yeah.
I dabble.
Yeah. I dabble in the Socrates.
I just like dudes that fuck kids. Like,
What you said though, I have
the heydays back when that shit was legal.
That's why female-driven and written prose stories are so important. Films, that hasn't been the case for up until very recently, because our conversations we've had is perfect demonstration that how many times do we have to have that back and forth where I like dig my heels in the ground and say, no, you're not getting what I'm saying. Just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's not true. This is my perspective. This is my life. This is 44 years of living as a woman. This is how it is.
For you.
For me.
And
just because you didn't experience women the way I experienced myself as a woman doesn't mean that my perspective and my experience is less valid.
No, and
you didn't mean it that way. It's just you don't have any way to feel or experience this. You just have to let.
Just like on the racist shit, we don't have. I don't know. I can only perceive, right?
This is my point. She doesn't know what it is to be a man.
Right.
Black guy doesn't know what it is to be white.
We don't
Nobody
know.
knows what anything is.
I don't know what it is to be you. We're both white. I don't know.
Exactly. So it's like this whole like somebody has the fucking inside scoop
on how it should be.
How other people are being treated. It's just like
that woke shit.
But a lot of people feel there is an empirical truth somewhere.
Well, there is, and that's what you were chasing. That love shit.
There's a cultural paradigm that's being driven
by who?
Well,
and people who have the biggest voice, wherever you go.
And that cultural paradigm is flawed as a motherfucker. The biggest voice is fucking shit up, and there's two of them, and they're fucking shit up, and they're pitting people against each other, and conversations can't be had in that space, and it's shitty.
Well, I got kicked off of Instagram till I believe, sir.
I know. I say you're 3 now.
It's like, oh, right. Fucking, but I'm a white guy, dude. I get preferential treatment.
Yeah.
I'm fucking. Like, I guess they didn't get the fucking memo.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Yeah. Fucking white privilege. Come on. What the fuck are you doing?
Identify as a woman when I got to the bathroom. The line's too fucking long. So you know.
Hey, I'll take advantage of what they're putting out there. You know, hey.
I know. I had to use a bath. I was doing something with Alexis Texas, the fucking porn chick, and I had like explosive diarrhea, and I was like, I can't have explosive diarrhea with Alexis Texas. You know, I'm in LA, and I'm driving on the break looking for a place. And I finally find a Starbucks, so I go in.
They got the gender. It's like all different. It's morphed. Fuck, I don't know if they had it there.
Not yet. They had men's room, women's room, stalls, and like the men's shit was locked, so I go into the women's room. And there's like, I go in and there's a woman working there. She's got the fucking pink bangs and shit, you know, like the fucking like. She's like, "Sir, you're not allowed to be in here." I'm like, "I'm a woman." She's like, I'm sorry. And I wrecked the bathroom. And she bailed. I was like, "You're transphobic." Like this is a game y'all want to play. You can't choose the fucking feeling, dog. You can't disprove a feeling.
That's why I like Jordan Peterson, because he stood up for that shit. Now I'm with it. Like, I'll respect anybody. I'll call you what you want. Like, if I shake your hand and you want to, cool. But the government ain't gonna tell me what the fuck to say and how to say it. Fuck you.
I'm gonna say what I see type of person, man. Like, I'm not trying to do. Like, I got other things to worry about than like fucking doing a arithmetic in my fucking brain. Like, if you look like a chick, I'll call you a chick. I don't care if you got dicks or not. And you're dick to me, and I'll still call you a lady.
And if they say back to you, well, no, I'm this. Well, okay, now I know that. Don't get mad at me because I saw something in you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's when I try to decide, do I feel like being around you or fucking not? Like, are you worth me doing this shit for?
Right,
like,
right.
Are you worth the special treatment? Usually not. And then I fucking bounce. Like, I already know that you're gonna be. like that's a new thing. Like on the dating sites, I'm just like if you're telling me your fucking pronouns and it's a woman, like I don't want to fucking get like I'm trying to make them feel inclusive. It's like like that's cool, man.
And why like that's where people are fucked up. That's that victim shit. I can't make you, no matter what I say, I can't make you feel included.
Yeah, I can put all the pronouns in the world in front of
you're still gonna feel disconnected and alienated because you're like you're at a level of, and I feel sorry for people that suffer from that dysphoria because you're as disconnected as can possibly be. Now you're saying that this was a mistake, and if there is a God fucked up. That's next to suicidal, like to not want to be in your fucking body like that. And I can't do anything to make you feel better, and society can't do it. Temporarily, you can get some, but it's a hard fucking thing to deal with. You can't put that responsibility on me.
It's not a very popular opinion, but you're very like I agree with you, and it's like you put it in a way that I've never thought about it. God, shit, but yeah, like.
Well, I don't know if you want to talk about your situation, probably not, but she's having to deal with it, and with kids. Like when you have kids, it's just what it is right now. So this trans talk and now kids that don't like who they are, fucking kids hate themselves when they're teenagers. Now they cannot be. I think I'm in the wrong body, and you're like, oh fuck, maybe you are, but we got to figure this shit out.
Like, do you hate who you are? Yes. Do you want extra attention? Fuck yeah. I'm this and I'm.
And they're moving to a different label. Like that's the killer part is like if you move to a different label, it's the same shit. Different, you know what I mean? Same shit. You ain't gonna feel good.
You still gotta face shit. It's funny too. Like I've got loved ones in my family that are like, I'm gay. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, fucking suck all the dick you want, bro. Like fucking have at it, man.
But the relief when you've been hiding for years to be able to not hide anymore. It's like we talk about how empowering it is to just tell the truth and lay it out.
I think it's a bit. I think it's easier to come out of the closet. Like it's easier to come out of the closet now than it's ever fucking been. And it's like for somebody that's 20 to compare themselves to a 50-year-old that had to go through that shit.
Yeah, it's not the
fucking
same.
Apples and oranges, man. Like those 50-year-olds have fucking knocked down doors for this 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And they've been using their body to knock down the door.
They're out there marching. Like, they're persecuted.
Bloodied up.
Yeah.
Straight up, man.
Yeah, no, they were. That's you don't think about it now because they made such strides.
Yeah.
But they were used to get fucked up. There were hate crimes like a motherfucker, and they were allowed.
My homeboy Daryl, the Navy SEAL, he's telling me a story of tells it as a joke because it's funny.
Where you in the car?
His homie in Texas, his dad would they would go to gay bars and pick up gay dudes and beat them up. So let me finish. Let me finish, bro. Let me finish. So he they go to whip this dude's ass and they bloody him up. And he was like, the only thing I like better than sucking dick is whooping ass, and he fucking beat the shit out of them dudes. He fucking beat the brakes off his homeboy's dad.
That dude's a beast.
Yeah.
Like he came out then, and you think you're gonna do it with your little bitch ass punches? My boy Noah got cut by do you remember Numbers?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So fucking he was down there talking some shit to some some of those trannies are gangster.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I didn't fuck with them.
Yeah, he just so five of them jacked him outside of Numbers and cut his face. Slid it up to his fucking ear, was gonna kill him. Don't be talking shit, motherfucker. You're in their space.
Yeah, actually, I shout out Numbers in the book.
Did you? I don't remember.
Yeah. I think I'll read the descriptor and you tell me if I did it right or not. Let's see.
That's fucking hilarious. So Jude, where I first encountered him, and he was on. I think you had just done some Jenny Jones shit, and when you were down Better Days and shit.
Yeah, those were the good old days, better days.
It's fucking after hours. We were all doing after hours back then.
What happened? What happened to the after hours? Was it because of the casinos? Did they start knocking them shits down, or what?
We had a tri-level. That was my last one, and when the cops raided that, we just walked out and never went back. We left everything there, and that's what people were doing because they started cracking down. I think it was the casinos. Like now they were cracking down on the shit. We used to be able to just have that shit in plain view. cars pulling up all night. You know what the fuck's going on down there, and the cops would be off to the side taking their money, and but then they started busting them down. So I remember Tri-Level just leaving everything we had in there, walking away and saying, we made our money, we're good. That was it for us.
I meet Maria at this after-hour spot on Woolworth by 7 Mile Numbers. It's a gay bar, but everyone goes there.
I remember
you'll see trannies and Chaldeans and club girls on the dance floor, thugs posted up by the pool table serving coke and eat, Albanians at the bar tricking off their Coney Island money on strippers and the rape kids on the ground against the wall, rubbing each other, rolling their asses off.
How the fuck did I miss Numbers?
Damn. That was Numbers.
That was Numbers. That was
fucking tea.
I told her, I was like, so we didn't know gay people, like for me, that I couldn't hate a gay person, but I didn't know they were real. Like in Hazel Park, I heard of them, and people would say when they were saying homo, that it had nothing to do with being gay because we never really conceived of it. When I moved out to LA, that's when I was like, oh fuck, there's HIV signs on Santa Monica. There was no problem. I was culture shock. I was calling my mom for novelty. Yeah, fuck, they're real. Like it's really happening. You know, it shocked the fuck out of me. But we had when I came back to Michigan, that's where people started. They were going to Numbers. Why? Because the motherfuckers party and find good drugs. You know what I mean? So we had all the straight people that we were starting to do like the trendy fucking nightclub shit in Michigan, just because we wanted to. You know what I mean? We were making money off it, and then we would go to Numbers after. And we would party. So it broke down a lot of walls. It was cool, but you could also get knifed by a fucking tranny for your drugs.
I think Michigan, like, because it's not as big, like Metro Detroit isn't as big as LA or New York. It really forced, like, we're thought of as being backwards and shit, but like there was way more integration.
Yeah.
Like in the app, like, because it was a limited. Like when you go to New York, everybody self-segregates.
Yeah.
Here there was no, like, there was self-segregation, and then we had to do.
If you want to find that party, you're gonna have to get along.
Yeah, or not get along, but you're gonna see that motherfucker.
Yeah, you're gonna be at that place because that's the only place where you know for sure your night's gonna go the way you might want it to. You know.
Yeah, I remember being at like at Labyrinth or the Goth.
Yeah. That was City Club?
City Club.
Yeah.
So I'm at City Club and I see there was like a redneck with a glow stick having a jit contest against some blood motherfucker. You know what I mean? I'm like, straight up Michigan. I was living in New York at the time. I'm like, that's Michigan as fuck. Thank you.
That's why we did techno, because people need to dance to that shit and not give a fuck. That's one of the things that we are a true melting pot. We kind of. We get, as you get into the burbs, it starts to separate a little bit, but you know, we're not that big. Our market is pretty much that's that market. Right. And we acclimated like a motherfucker.
You gotta get in there. No.
You ain't getting the good drugs. You know what I mean? I remember that the designer drugs they called them. Wasn't that smart? Designer drugs, ecstasy, fucking.
Still trying to get GHB, but every time I fucking go to a gay bar, like get away from me. Come on, fellas.
That's where you're gonna find it. Yeah, I got a story about fucking when I was trying to find this certain substance. I didn't know where to get it in Michigan. I'm going Grindr, see what's happening, and I popped on Grindr, and you know they're thinking one thing, and I'm thinking, hey, well, can I just stop by and buy that shit from you? No, and then I started feeling like a woman. I'm like, oh, this motherfucker wants to, you know what I mean? Like he's trying to really, he's trying to do that shit
for fucking days because you went on Grindr,
and I'm not hiding anything. So I start getting these weird emails from friends of mine from high school and people that I knew back in the day. I'm like, why are they fucking? I think they're hitting on me, and I'm talking to her that she's in France. I'm like, what the fuck? So I wasn't hiding anything. My email address is on that shit. So I'm just incognito trying to get this fucking drug, and now I got friends from back in the day thinking I'm gay and shit. I'm like, no, why do you? And somebody finally told me, well, you're on Grindr. How the fuck do you? I thought it was being my email address. Like I just got me. I was like, well, I'm not, but fuck, thank you. You know, no, I'm not gonna have that beer now. And now I know what your intentions are, motherfucker.
Flattered.
Yeah, thank you. I remember that was when I walking through West Hollywood, like I knew I had to lose weight because dude stopped hitting on me. I was like, oh bro, man, I'm gonna have to fucking cut out the carbs. Yeah. Man. Like like I had to look at myself in the mirror. I was like, "We might chop liver. These motherfuckers uglier than me." But
yeah, you can't even say some shit. You can't even...
Come on, man. Comment on my ass, bro.
No one ain't gonna go anywhere, but I like that shit. Just tell me, it's flattering. Yeah, well,
not gonna get any better than that.
For real, pick this book up. It's I mean, especially because I know there's a lot of friends watching from the Better Days and this right here, it's gonna take you right back to that. But it's you know, you got the this is what happens when kids grow up. You know, the movie Kids. Like when the kids grow up, if they make it out of that shit, this is the kind of shit that you can use it to make you a better person, or you can let it fucking consume you and play victim to it because you can't get rid of the guilt. We're just doing what we were doing, you know what I mean? And we're at the end of the day, everybody's just crying out for love. Like that's really what we're doing in our flawed ways. We're trying to find connection in this disconnected place. That has we have the greatest tool in the world to connect each other, and we just keep getting further and further apart. And it's so that right there is thin, you know what I mean? Like that's really it. That's all we're doing, and that's what I saw here is that's somebody who's just doing what humans do, and it's interesting the way you go about it. But just like mine was interesting, it's a story that should be told because now people can look at it, they can disconnect from the fact that they're doing the same things. Look at the story, and then they can feel some common ground. Like that's what I hope for mine. I know I'm not going to get that. There's going to be people who hate it, love it, whatever. But and then it'll be the same here. People won't get past some of the shit you say, and they'll be stuck on that one thing that well he said horror. Fuck him, you know what I mean? And that's where they live. And there's a whole book.
Horrors, people that don't get whores. I give them money. Money from a trick, they're a whore, and like
it's a beautiful relationship.
I'm supporting them. All you doing is getting in the fucking way with an opinion. So why don't you shut the fuck up? And until you get a fucking whore, hooker, a prostitute, call them what the fuck you want. Until you actually spend some time and money participating, shut the fuck up. Thank you.
That's what we'll end on. Jude Angelini picked the book up. We got to do this again. The comments are always fucking crazy because a lot of people ain't used to this dynamic, but
sorry,
it is what it is.
I was just kidding about prostitutes.
Sex workers.
It's a human condition. Throw the questions, and if you got anything for Jude when you read his book, I ain't gonna give it to him because you don't want to hear that shit. I'm kidding. I'll send it over to him, and maybe he can shout you out. Don't you do something where you shout people out that take pictures of the book?
Yeah, definitely. Just tag 3 more Jude.
Yep, 3 more Jude on Instagram. It's in the feed. Peace out.
Creative picture.
Yeah, maybe take it at numbers.
Yeah.
Even though it's closed down, go stand in front of that bitch. A little place.
Yeah.
You might get knifed by a tranny. Human condition. We out.